a lump of my life, a huge amount of lump in my life, and it's a journey. And this is really what I like to do. So sharing with you the story of how we came to be here today. Yeah? And the way I'm doing it is kind of divided in 3 parts. One is related to the Philippines, obviously. Why did I come here first, and why did this idea came about? The second one is about the product that came about from that sort of thinking process and experiencing process, which is Piñatex. And the third one is about a community, which is the Tivoli community that we work with. We were there a couple of days ago working with them, and to share what it means for a community like this to have another source of income, and the only source of income that they have. So this is the way I'm doing it, right? So let's start. And what I was thinking, this is really, you can ask questions, but maybe we can pause at each stage of the journey, and if anybody has any questions, and then at the end we can really do more of a sharing, whichever way we feel like it. So my journey started, I'm from Spain, and I went to live in Ireland when I was 19. So in the 90s, I set up my first company. I guess I can call myself a social entrepreneur because I've been building business all my life. Inventor in a way, because I'm always thinking of new products, and kind of breaking rules. I think in my company they say, gosh, you come and you disrupt everything. So I think I'm kind of a bit of a disruptor as well. And so, sorry, let's go back for a second. So this is what I was doing. I had a factory manufacturing products made with leather, top quality leather, beautiful leather, selling at some of the best stores in the world, like Harrods, Liberty, Takashimaya in Japan. So at that time, sustainability wasn't really anything we were talking about. And I was making a luxury product with a material that I was buying at trade shows, the best tanneries I could find in Europe, and that was really it, right? So that was my experience on materials and developing products. And then, because of my skills, I was asked to do consultancy work around the world. And that really started to change me as a person. Because, just think of going from luxury to being in the Altiplano in Bolivia, working with, communities like Quechua, Aymara, developing products. I remember, so this is a story I'm telling you, right? So this is a storytelling, really. I was up there, the second highest plateau in the world, with these ceramists. And I was meant to bring these people to the Frankfurt Fair, the biggest gift fair in the world. They didn't even have a workshop. They didn't have a proper room. And I thought, this is ridiculous. How am I going to teach these people to develop a product and bring it there when they didn't even know what it is an invoice? We were talking about these things today. And that really started to make me think about, what am I doing? I'm thinking about people, or I'm thinking about business, right? So I didn't bring them to the Frankfurt Fair. We went to the National Museum, again, that's what we were talking about today, their museum, and we share their ancestors' history, it's so important. They had never been to a museum, and they came out different people. It's so wonderful to see that. So we developed some products that they were sympathetic with their own traditions. For example, they eat a lot of corn, these beautiful shapes. So something that really made sense to them, but it also made sense to the local market. And there I said, look, you're selling here, then you go to the next step, the city, and the next step. And I went back to Frankfurt and I said to these people, I'm sorry, this is the way I work. And I never got another job with this one, but to me that was it, you really need to understand that developing a product is just not to have a brief, it's about people. So that was my experience. And then I came to the Philippines, and I worked with the Product Development Design Center of the Philippines, and still my brief was to upgrade products made with leather for the export market. But by then I was not only thinking about people, I was thinking about materials, right? And I thought, okay, where is this leather coming from? And I went to see the tanneries, and I was horrified because, tanning in many places today is pretty sustainable, okay? You've got filters, you've got everything. My goodness, what I saw, it was so horrible. I mean, it was a toxic reality of what it is to tan leather. And I was so shocked that I said, I'm not working with leather anymore. And that was really a milestone in my life, which happened here. And I didn't have a solution, so I was absolutely super upset about this, right? So I thought, how can I stop working with leather without having a solution for something alternative? I went to see the Menchi Franco, I don't know if anybody remembers. Beautiful lady, yes, we know. The director of the design center, and I told her, look, Menchi, I don't really want to work with leather. I'm sorry, I'm failing you, but you have such natural materials that they were already using anyway, and the skills, why don't you try to do something with it? And to my nearly horror, she said, go ahead and do something. And I told her, I don't know anything about natural fibers, but she said, go ahead. And we did. And then my journey in the Philippines really started. I worked actually with the Philippine Textile Research Institute quite a lot, and you can see from weavers, I was looking at machines, how can we use machines to soften fiber, to give them different textures. So it was a lot of experimenting, natural dyes, different local communities, understand the natural fibers. So that was really an incredible education for me. It really changed my way of thinking, and these natural fibers, I didn't even know the names, buntal, abaca, what is this about? But by working so intimately with them, you really start to kind of listen and to have empathy for the material that you work with. And the fact that some of the communities I was working with, I couldn't understand them, they couldn't understand me. So it was all about feeling. It was all about nearly, I was looking at their hands and thinking, how can we change them? Because we couldn't understand. I was afraid to say things that, hurt them in a way. And they were the same. So it was quite a good experience to really understand and work with people, even if you don't understand you don't speak the same language. And out of that came some very beautiful work. This is buntal, as you probably know, for the people. Are you all from the Philippines? No, all right. So buntal is actually the only cylindrical fiber that exists, and it's used traditionally in the Philippines to making hats. But we made some very beautiful, actually simple bags, and the idea was to use everything from here. So you don't see it here, but the fittings, they were designed here. We made them in brass from traditional forms that I thought, I researched everything. The design center have a very strong research department, because I didn't want to use leather. At this point, we use wallow, which is sea snake, which is a pest for the fishing communities. I think it's in the southern part of the Philippines. But we developed a system that was completely different from what they were doing. At the time when I came, these fibers that were being used, they were woven and then stretched in a way with chemical colors, in usually cases like hard. And I thought, no, these fibers, they're so beautiful. What is their language? Well, we are kind of killing the language of the fibers, right? So what we did is, which took a lot of hard work, is we developed a weaving process, more or less like the way they make hats, right? So we were weaving around a mold, which is kind of this big. And that was quite a struggle, because obviously they weren't used to working like this, so it was like, it's not going to work. You can't see it there, but we developed also, I found a very beautiful, very gentle design in the museum, and we searched everywhere for weavers, and then we found an old lady that she said, oh, I used to do that. So this is my experience with natural fibers, right? It was really a discovery and a learning of, how to work, how to understand, how to respect. Beautiful collection because, it hasn't got any mold, it's woven in the round, so it's fluid, it's very sensual as well. And this was really a breakthrough, in fact. So by not knowing anything, we did pretty good things, I think. I experimented with different fibers. This is abaca, and it's abaca with over twisted wool to give it texture. And I started to realize that I had to change my way of designing as well. I mean, this is pure craft, it's all handmade, right? But my mission really was, through design and innovation, to create value for these very humble fibers. I mean, they're not super expensive. And, abaca, what do we use abaca for? Not to make some very beautiful outerwear. I call them body adornment, and these were prototypes to really show the value you can give to natural materials through design and innovation. And also for me, it was such an extraordinary experience because I realized that this kind of work and the design that goes with it and the experimenting is really a very strong connecting tool between people, communities, innovation, and the economics of what can bring about. And it really showed me that it is only that way that we can create something with integrity. A great experience and great learning in that way. And this is also made, this is made actually with pineapple fibers. So by working so intimately with all these fibers, I was starting to, as I said, listen to them and always thinking at the back of my head, gosh, I need an alternative to leather. I need a strong material to really still do handles or whatever I wanted to do. And, I used to keep bits in my pocket. The designers from the design center would bring me seeds, anything, that I thought it would inspire me. I would keep with me. And if you do this, you start to think, wow, this is really soft, strong, but very flexible. So then, the spark comes along, and the question of, gosh, what if I can take this and make a mesh, not unlike what leather is a mesh of fibers. Our skin is a mesh of fibers, and in my imagination, it was really simple. It was basically a mesh of fibers, a coating like our skin, in leather you call it top coating as well. That's it. I'm going to have a new material. And that was the beginning of Piñatex, actually, this thing of what if. It took over 10 years to develop Piñatex, and it all started in this what if. And then people helping, because in the Philippines, I went to a non-woven company, because then I realized that there is another thing. Weaving is one thing, and then there is a non-woven, right? This is a new word. It was a new word for me. I went to see this company, and I told them hesitantly, because they were making polyester undercarpets, etc. I said, do you think we can make something with these fibers? And the gentleman, the owner of the company, said, look, Carmen, I don't know if we can, but I know this is going to be very good for the Philippines. I'm going to help you. And this is how things happen, It's really sharing with others, and really, when you get into industries where you just need help, because otherwise you've got these huge machines, these huge factories. How can you make a prototype? Only sharing and people wanting to collaborate with you. So this was really, really quite important. So that brought us to another stage of my life, really. So leather was out of the way, left my company, went back to college, because I had to train myself. I wasn't a weaver, so I went back to do a degree and then an MA, all to understand natural fibers. But the big jump was that I went from luxury products to working intimately with craftspeople, developing products, to basically give more value to these fibers into products that they had, in the fashion accessories, if you like. And then industry. So this is the big flip, okay? I went from this small thinking, in a way, to the big thinking of, I want to develop a product that is going to really have a big positive impact in the world. So this is the first part of my life. well, whatever we can call it. And after that, I went into developing this product. And how did I do it? I had to leave everything behind, concentrate in developing a new material. So I went to London, I went to the Royal College of Art and Design, and they said, yeah, we can help you, you can be here. We've got Imperial College, which is a science college, which is linked, meaning that, you know, I had access to science, to this kind of knowledge. And I spent 5 years developing Piñatex. And this was my exhibition in Christmas 2014. I graduated in 2015. And the proof, you know, what I wanted to show there after all this time working was, number one, that this product is, you know, it works, meaning that there is a system, an industrial system to make it happen. And this is what happened there. These are the first rolls of Piñatex, and I promise you it was one of the most incredible time for me to realize that my idea that I had there for nearly 10 years could become a product that we can industrialize. This is so important, and that's the proof. It was fantastic, and then so we're getting into the second stage. Do you want to stop and do you have any questions, or shall I keep going? Great. I keep going. The second thing is, you know, you develop a product. And then we'll go through this, okay? So what? People may not see what is this for. So to me it was super important to develop the final product to really go from, you know, from all the research that needs to be done into a material, into, yes, this is what you can make with the material. And I was super lucky, pushing, that I got people like Camper to develop a prototype. This is done, I developed some of these are my own products. These are colleagues from Royal College, and then I had Puma developing a pair of sneakers. Now that was really amazing because, you know, you really show people think, wow, if Puma can make a pair of sneakers with this material, it must work. So that was the launch of Piñatex. That was 2 of 15 really, it was Christmas. And then we started to sell around the middle of 2015. So it's not that long really. Piñatex is not that long in the market. But I can say that today we've got about 1,000 clients going from early adopters to, you know, big companies. But it all started here, right? Showing a product and showing that it works in the market. It's so important. So what is Piñatex? Number one, I actually had to, well, it's a patented material, meaning that it is protected. It's also quite important because otherwise we could have somebody now in China or whatever place making something similar and then you have nothing. So anybody in the industry would understand how important it is to protect your invention, right? Cradle to Cradle it has been my inspiration. I was lucky to meet Michael Brangard, which is one of the partners in the Cradle to Cradle philosophy, if you like. And it was my inspiration. We always need something to inspire. My goodness, I was so inspired to hear this man. You know, waste equal food. This is what Cradle to Cradle is telling us about. And it's really what I was doing unconsciously in a way. And to really see there somebody that is telling you or telling the world, this is the way it has to be, and you say, oh my God, this is the way I'm doing things, and I didn't even realize it. It's really wonderful. So this is what Piñatex is. And it's quite a disruptive material. I mean, it's really making waves in the fashion and textile industry because it's different, particularly, you know, even four years ago, it was the first sustainable material like this in the market. And it really changed how people thought. Even in the Royal College of Art, you know, which is still considered, still today, I think, in the world, it was tough for me to really make people understand this is the way, this is sustainable, this is the way we have to do it. Whereas today, obviously, there are courses, they have everything to do with developing materials which are sustainable. And this is the problem we have, and I think we all know that. It's really a huge problem in the textile industry, the leather industry, the same. all the chemicals that they go there, filtering into the water, the huge amount of textiles that we waste. This is something that, it cannot go on. To me, it's wonderful to think that we have a balance there. Instead of wasting, we are actually taking waste and making a material out of it. And there's so many pineapples in the world, 30 million tons of leaf. We could actually give a few twists to the world with Piñatex, and we wouldn't even have to plant a single pineapple. We don't need land, we don't need water. We are taking a waste, and this is terribly, terribly important. I think for most of you, because most of you coming from the Philippines, you understand fibers, you understand all the processes, but nevertheless, for most people it's quite unheard of that you extract fibers and then you make something out of it. So I will visually go through the processes of fiber. This is Piñatex drying in the sun. So it all starts in the farming communities, in the fields. Now this is not like the Barron Tagalog that they use this particular pineapple, okay? You don't eat the pineapple, you extract by hand. This is industrial, cooperatives, we work with cooperatives, but this is pineapple planting and then using the waste of the plantations. So the farming communities go back to the fields, they do the decorticating, which is a mechanical process you will see there to extract the fibers. They are basically washed in water, right in the sun, and this is what they look. I've got samples in here. They're beautiful. We started, let me see what's next. Yes, we started with just one cooperative, Lavo Cooperative, and now, 3 years later, we actually have a company here, which is a year old, the company. Textile is running it with Chuck, our colleague, and it's called the Piña plant, which is wonderful. So these are, I guess, the first decorticators that they have a full-time job. So this is really my pride and joy, to think we are creating jobs that didn't exist really before. And not only that, we are creating a system and processes. You can see here, we imported a machine, the decorticating machine from China to make it more efficient, okay? We are developing degumming processes with enzymes to make it more sustainable. So these wonderful people, there is Tequila and there is Choc, they are really developing a system to make this into a new industry, and this is what we are doing. I wasn't here for nearly 10 months, and when I came, I went to the factory and I thought, oh my God, it's a plant, but it is a factory. We've got better machines to do degumming. We've got better machines to do carding. We are developing and fine-tuning systems that we have to develop. Every day they are doing it, and this is an extraordinary achievement. And you probably know this, it's about 97.5% of a pineapple is biomass. So this is another waste that we are valorizing, because it's all about valorizing waste. So what do? This is actually Labo community with vermicomposting, with these worms. In a few weeks you can actually have beautiful organic fertilizer. Yeah. So this is really wonderful, So how can we say there is waste? Okay, you have this terrible plastic waste we're talking about, but nature, there is no waste in nature. We can use everything. We just have to think differently. So then from the farming community, from the land, we go into the industrial processes of textile. So this is where Piñatex goes, and then we can go through the processes in here. Okay, so this is a non-woven, and this is actually the first time I realized I could see that we made about 100 meters of non-woven, that this was a reality. And it was really incredible. And even today, after all this time, we are fine-tuning this process. To do a non-woven with a natural fiber is a very complex, very difficult thing. It's not like polyester that is all the same, right? So we have to fine-tune, we have to learn, we have to change the technology, and to change the technology industrially, it really takes, these huge machines, it takes quite a lot of collaboration and it takes quite a lot of knowledge. So it's quite an achievement to actually come to this. And in the, number one, we've got to card the material to make it fluffy and even, and then it goes through, for somebody that doesn't know about non-woven, it goes through thousands and millions of needles that go super fast, okay, to hook it all together. So it's a mechanical process. We haven't used any chemicals, anything at all to actually come to this product at this point. And then all this is done in the Philippines, by the way, up to here. But then we ship the product in big rolls, and it goes to Spain, and we work with finishing companies. Why Spain? Because again, that's the people that they said to me, I'm going to help you, right? And this is what you need, people helping you. So this is a totally industrial process. We go through a resin immersion process, and then it's got one coating and another coating. So again, my idea of how can I make this a leather-like? It's not leather, okay? It's absolutely not leather. This is a plant-based material, but it became a reality. It's actually quite wonderful because there you are. You've got the coating, you've got the coating. And then after that, we go to another company close by, and we do we call the tumbling. It's a huge machine that we more or less have to develop ourselves as well. You know that it's like, it's a super long machine. It's about 20 meters long, as high as this room, with 10 drums. If you think of a drum of a washing machine, right, it goes this way. So it breaks down gently, the fibers a little bit to give it a bit more drapeability. But again, you can see the amount of innovation that a new material can take. And this is how we do the coating and finishing. So that's the product, but what does it represent? And to me the supply chain, it's really the most important thing. It is a scalable supply chain. Again, we're talking about how can we scale. Well, in the farming community, but anyway, the extraction, okay, we go into the decoming purification, the biomass. The biomass, eventually it will become biogas or organic fertilizer. We're going to start with the organic fertilizer, right? So look, even in the farming community, we have the perfect circular economy there, adding value to every single thing. And that goes directly to the farmers. So this is, to me, the most beautiful thing we have in our product, complete value and circular economy. And then as we move on, we are business to business, by the way, so we sell the material, we don't sell the product. It goes through the different processes, and eventually the product will be able to, and we are already working on it, to be upcycled. I don't believe in recycling or putting it down into the ground. I don't think that makes any sense. If we can upcycle, meaning that we are doing experimenting with shredding it, what can become? It can be geotextiles, etc. So it's always about upcycling the product. And I promise you, I'm super proud of this. To me, it's wonderful. I think everybody knows about circular economy. Why is it so important? We need to use less land. Why do we have to use, think of cotton, the amount of water, the amount of fertilizers. We are desertification the earth by planting so much cotton. So if we can use anything that is a waste from agriculture, this is so important, right? Energy, the same thing, we have to use less energy, and we're working on it as well. Water, this is the beautiful thing of Piñatex. It uses so little water. This is, it's so important. And in fact, when I thought of, at the beginning when I was thinking of Piñatex, and I did some prototypes, I made them a bit like you make paper, right? And probably everybody has tried that, and it works. It can be more or less unterrible, washable, and then after months, you think, how stupid can I be? After months, I thought, what are you doing? You're using so much water. It's, you do experimenting. That was before the non-woven, and then I thought, it has to be different. So I think the use of water is so important, and obviously, what we have to do is to stop extracting natural resources from the earth. We're basically killing the earth, right? So this is really what circular economy is about. The probably all know about that. So now a little bit about Piñatex. Piñatex is a brand, and this is really, really important. It's not a commodity. It represents everything I told you. It's encapsulated in the product. And it's quite important because people know what Piñatex is. I mean, I go to all over the place, and they come to me, Piñatex. So, you know, we are adding value to the product by really encapsulating in this branding knowledge that we put into the product. And it's evolving all the time. We started with 3 colors, obviously, you know, natural, black and brown. And now we've got even more than this. We've got a collection of 12 colors. Depending on the market, we've got different markets. This is really for the fashion and apparel. So the range is changing and evolving all the time. Research and development doesn't really stop. And it's a super, what's the word? Versatile material. Are you okay there? Yeah. Okay, look, it can be embossed, printed, it can be embroidered, it can be transfer coating on it. It's fantastic because you have different accesses to different markets depending on the properties that you give the product. And this is really what the market needs. I'm not going into this, but technical characteristics when you develop a material, it's absolutely key. This is a science. It has to have the right tearing strength, you know, it cannot be pulled out. It has to have the same rubbing, meaning that when you flex it, it doesn't really go into, you know, cracking, etc., etc. And every batch, as we call it, of new material that we have, you know, we're doing about 1,000 linear meters at the time, 12,000, 1,500, goes through very stringent testing. So this is really important. It's technology, it's really the technical characteristics of a product. It has to work. So it can be sustainable, it can be beautiful, but if it doesn't work, you can forget about it. You know, we are in a very demanding market, and it just has to work. So this is very, very important. So we are trying to make it better all the time. And this is just to show you that R&D is absolutely key. We are working on processes all the time. At the moment we are developing, for the past 2 years, we're developing a bio-based coating, because it is a PU coating, polyurethane, because it's basically it's nearly in the market now, but you know, we think we don't have to use plastics, that we were talking about. Well, sometimes we have to use it because there's nothing there that will give us the strength to make a pair of shoes. So this is a constant ongoing, and how do you do that? The only way you can do it is to really collaborate and have agreements with top people that they can help you, and we do. For example, Textile, I don't know if anybody knows about Textile, it's one of the biggest chemical companies. And we are developing this bio-based coating from the beginning. And think that a new resin may have 15 components, and those components, which are minerals coming from all over the place, they have to be put together, they have to be tested. So we are actually working from the beginning, which is really exciting, but also very, very hard. So these kind of people are really key for us to develop a better product, any product actually. And obviously certifications are important as well. And I just got to go through the kind of products that Piñatex is about. We're having shoes. Maybe I can tell you, no, I'll tell you later. If anybody wants to know about the markets and how we break the markets, okay? But you can ask me later if you like. So this is basically products. I mean, as I said, we've got about 1,000 clients, from the early adopters, the vegan people that absolutely want Piñatex and want anything that is sustainable, to the, you know, designers like Hugo Boss and people like that. And then we've got, you know, high street like H&M, car industry, etc. So this is really just to show you the kind of products. This is a very new one, so you can see that people are becoming very, very innovative as well. It's difficult to work with a new material, because people think it's leather. It is not leather. It's not as strong as leather. You have to use different techniques. So we're always training our customers, which are really, you know, the end, you know, the brands, how to use Piñatex, how to present Piñatex, how to understand the product. And this is really quite important. apparel, bags, upholstery. So every time you go from one market to the other, particularly from fashion accessories to upholstery, the technical demands get more difficult, okay? It has to be better. So this ongoing to make a product better is absolutely vital to make it happen. And the car industry, this is a very difficult industry. It probably will take about 5 years to develop something. We are about year 2 to develop, a product. But then as a company, you need to have different models, different kinds of clients, and this is really, the car industry is something that it will really give us the volume that we need to upscale everything. So yeah, we expect maybe by the end of this year we should have the first prototypes out, and then it might take another year or 2 to roll something out, but that's kind of exciting for us. First prototypes in the car industry. And then it's collaboration with brands. I mean, for being such a small company as we are, how do you put yourself out in the market? And also, how do these brands can access, in a way, sustainability when it's very hard for them? I always feel that it's like a big transatlantic big shipping boat trying to turn quickly. They can't do that. We're a small little boat. We just can't go this way. And if we actually collaborate and we work together, we can come up with certain limited edition collections, something to help them in a way, to show their clients that they can do something sustainable, and for us to put ourselves out in the market, right? And it works quite well. This was a collaboration with Lancel, and this one with Hugo Boss. And the important thing is not just to do one collaboration, obviously, it's what happens after. Now, I have to say very quickly, but to work with a big company like this is super difficult. We would get 20 pages of specifications. This has to be done, transparency, technical characteristics. It's really, really, really difficult. So it probably took us about a year to make a sample capsule collection with Hugo Boss. It took nearly 2 years to work with H&M, and this is such a good learning exercise, but very taxing on a small company. And this is just a little video that Hugo Boss did, because what we do is we actually want companies like this to become linked with us, so we call them our certified partners. So we've got branding, very stringent branding guidelines that they have to adhere to, how the product is presented, how do they represent, how do they speak about it, how do they show it out in the market. So this is what co-branding and really having this partnership to value the product and to value ourselves, really to say, no, you want the product, you're going to sell it this way, this way, this way. This is really important as well. This was H&M. They have these conscious collections every, I think it's a couple of years. In fact, it was launched in Manila for Asia last year, right? Super successful. In 48 hours, it was launched throughout the world, well, in key places like Rome, New York, London, etc., Manila. And it sold so quickly, but that was really a good experience, and it gave us so much exposure as well. So now we are working towards working with them, to bring something into their main collections. Right, so this is the third part of the story. I told you that we just came back from Tivoli. We've been working with them for about 1 year, more or less than a year. And the most difficult thing for our company is to really get fiber, right? This is still the bottleneck, because we need so much of it, and it's not there. So we're constantly looking for partnering with cooperatives. We work with farming cooperatives, we don't work with big Doles and Del Montes, so we really want to work with people that we can really help, and we work with them together. So Tivoli, okay, so what do we know about the Tivoli? We have some Tivoli weavers in here, right? So this is Tivoli, the dream weavers. I wanted to go to see Tivoli when I was here with the design center 10 years ago. And they wouldn't let me go down. They thought it was too dangerous to go down there, right? And I wanted to see these weavers. I mean, the dream weavers. Well, I didn't, but I did last week, which is wonderful, right? And they have I have huge respect for this kind of work, because that's my background. They have dignity, they have a job, they have a tradition, they hold their culture, right? But there are other Tivolis as well, that they're not these weavers and they're not in this environment. And this is our Tivoli people. They work up in the mountains, sometimes really far. And now they're part of the Tivoli farming community, the pineapple community. They are trained by them and they have a job. This is the way they go into the field. You can see the leaves in here. So it's basically, you know, the farmers, they take the pineapples and then, normally speaking, that's it. So now the Tivoli go there, some Tivoli people, they go there and they pick up the leaves. And this is really what we have to think. What is the situation, okay? In the southern parts of the Philippines, is the second largest pineapple producing region in the Philippines, lots of it, but also it's got huge poverty. Usually that kind of poverty is related to farming communities, and what I know is about the pineapple farming communities. So what is the impact that we can make in these farming communities? Well, here it is. These are leaf collectors. This is new jobs. These people didn't have a job because there are no jobs around there. And now these women, they actually gather the leaves from the fields. Is the truck? Yeah, there is the truck. They actually, you know, it's a whole group of them. The men chop the plants, so, you know, they go with the machete, chuk, chuk, chuk. And then the women gather the leaves, they size the leaves because they have a particular size, and they cannot go, you know, if they are bent, they're no good for the machine, so, you know, there's quality control from the beginning. They put them together, and they send them to the plant. But now, I just want to say, I mean, we met these people last week, right? So this is one of the ladies, and talking to them, like this lady, you know, she was telling us her life. She was just saying, you know, I've got 8 children, right? She can't have 8 children. She only has 2 children with her. The others, they are given to her siblings because she can't afford to have so many children. But when we spoke to her about the work and what it is, you know, she was trabajo, the work. This is, she said, now I have a job. Now I can keep my 2 children. And her dream is to have a house and bring the children together. And she hopes with this job, you know, she can do that. And this is really the huge impact. You know, individually, when you come to the individual people, this is what it is. There's a girl also in the group. She has only a couple of fingers in her hand. And again, speaking to her, she was saying, I'm so happy and proud to have a job because I am not a burden to my family anymore. And this is the only job that I got, that I could get. And frankly, this really fills your heart with determination to make things happen and empathy. You know, you really become more human when you really are with our people, which is very, very important, I think, in today's world. So this is the Tivoli community. This is really the way we work. So this is, again, a new industry, this building of new industry. So only in this Tivoli community, there are 50 people employed before there wasn't a job. So in the field, we've got 32, most of them are women, and then we've got 18 decorticators. So this is the impact, the positive impact that Piñatex has in the Philippines at the moment. Everything is about innovation. We have to get better machines. The ones that they have are not so good. You can see them there. You know, we're improving the machines. We're giving them new machines. We're developing new degumming processes. So this is the knowledge that we have to build together with them, with engineers, with, you know, all these people to build something. It's quite a wonderful slow-growing process, right? And it's all about sharing knowledge and everything. So these are our lovely ladies there. What is Piñatex about? It's really made from the waste from agriculture. So this is, we are valorizing waste. It gives employment to some of the poorest communities in the world as well. And there are no chemicals that they damage the environment. And I think this is very important there. And that's it.